Freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, new faces and old. I know it's been a tumultuous start to this first semester, but I'd like to welcome you guys back, or just welcome you. Today, Michael and I, the student government class president and vice president, will be giving a short speech to introduce ourselves and our organization. But first of all, I'd like to give a massive shout of gratitude to the people at On Century Avenue for hosting us today. So, I'll let Michael start it.
Okay, so the speech of today will mainly be four parts. First part, I will give an introduction about student government both historically and structurally. And for the second part, Nate will introduce the framework of student government's work of this semester in terms of what events we are gonna hold. And for the third part, we are gonna go deeper into the bigger picture of what student government will carry out. For example, our policies, our proposals, and what core value we think the student government should have and improved. Also, for the fourth part, we are going to share our experience being a member of student government, not only the president or vice president, but also just a member of student government. So before introducing our student government, I want to mention the first generation of student government. So for me, the establishment of the first student government is a pure miracle. You can imagine under circumstances that everything is uncertain and the first batch of undergraduate is facing so much confusion and uncertainty, they still established the first student government so quickly and effectively. And the achievement they made is also incredible. They held many activities that we are still holding right now. For example, Spring Formal, Dumpling Festival, Thanksgiving Grant, and they also hold global summit and cross-campus communication activities to increase the social influence of NYU Shanghai. Then we have what we have nowadays is the seventh generation of student government. The structure is perfect, and we have one president, one vice president. We have 40 people in total. We have 8 committees. We have bi-weekly meetings to share our working progress and working planning. We open our application of assistant directors on September and the election of president and directors during the spring semester. You can see everything is all settled because of the previous efforts made by all those people who want to contribute to the improvement of student government. So for me, student government right now is not only an organization merely for carrying out regular events. It's more like a spiritual carrier, carrying the idea to improve our school and engage in what student body really wants. And also it's a gather of people who are willing to change this school. So I will give Nate some time to share what we are going to do throughout this year.
So the core foundation of Michael and I's event planning procedure, it revolves around a model of the student body that we've developed and that's been handed to us by last year's President Rudy. It forms a triangle, and on each side of the triangle is a different part of the student body. On one side are the students who are here solely for academic purposes and the wonderful enrichment that this school can offer academically. On the opposing end of the triangle, we have the students who are here for immersion, for cultural immersion, for the experience of being in China, and the adventure of being overseas. The final part of the triangle is comprised of students who take influence from both of the formerly mentioned parts of the triangle. Whereas in the past, student government events have focused solely on the academic side, Michael and I really hope to expand the scale of our events to encompass all students. We want to make it relaxing, we want to make it fun, and we want to make it educational. And this is something that we strive to do. For example, some of the events that we will be hosting are a summit with Wenzhou Kane University. They're actually hosting us, and we're sending 3 dignitaries, including Michael, there next weekend. We are hosting Spring Formal, as always. We will be having the Carnival of Terror upcoming for celebrating Halloween. It will be an amazing House of Horrors event on B1. And we'll also be continuing other events such as the ones that Michael has laid out of previous student governments. We also hope to host more talks, host more of our local community members here, and just increase immersion into overall event life. So now I'm going to be moving on to policies, and I think an important place to start is with two policies that we're working on right now, and I'll let Michael introduce them.
Okay, so the first I want to mention, the first and the primary policy that student government will expand in this year is Let Your NYU ID Open Doors. I know it's a long name, but this project is basically aimed to form negotiation and partnerships with local establishments for exclusive NYU Shanghai discounts. So last year we already had 14 NYU Shanghai special discounts for the NYU Shanghai students body, and we also got free ticket entrance and ticket discounts from museums and shows, which are pretty good. So the aim of Let Your NYU ID Open Doors is to firstly increase the social influence of NYU Shanghai, and also we find out that Let Your NYU ID Open Doors can also increase the local immersion of NYU Shanghai. By settling these discounts, we can sending more students to explore the city and emerge into the culture of Shanghai, which is another aspect of Let Your NYU ID Open Doors. And this year, we don't want the scope of this program limited by discounts with establishment. We want it to be bigger and deeper. For example, we're negotiating a joint card program with CBM, which is Zhaoshang Bank. So we are going to have our own designed credit card and align with a series of special discounts for NYU Shanghai. And the contract has been officially out, and we are taking it to the legal department and finance department and waiting for further discussion. And for another policy, Nate.
Yeah, so actually expanding on that, we're going to be holding a design competition for the cards where students in our community will compete against each other to create the official NYU Shanghai bank card design, which I think is pretty cool. Furthermore, we're starting a Catch Me If You Can sort of assassin-like event, but moving forward into more so big picture value policies. One thing that we promised to do in our campaign pledge was to address the textbook policy. Frankly, it's rather confusing, and a lot of students hold grudges against the fact that it's becoming increasingly hard to register older textbooks for contemporary use. Furthermore, the purchasing process is a bit confusing, and we hope to sort of straighten that out a little bit. Moving forward, we also want to increase the recreational activities on B1, more ping pong tables, maybe another pool table. We also have a very strict policy and a value against sexual assault and sexual harassment at our campus. It's been a problem in the past, and this year, student government has decided that we will take a stand and do everything we can in our power to implement changes. We want perpetrators to know that they will be taken accountable for their actions, and there will be harsh treatment regarding this. Furthermore, last year we had a crisis in the usage of public space, whereas people were leaving their belongings strewn out about and dismissing them for hours on end. Student government this year will take a harsh stance against perpetrators of public space policy. We will be confiscating items that are left behind and throwing them away. And to expand on this policy, I'd like to mention that whereas in this past couple months it's been mitigated a little bit, we still see a new emergence of garbage being laid out, and for example the metal cups on the third floor lounge. We need to remember that the IEs, they work for the school. They are not our slaves. We need to be accountable for our own actions, and we need to clean up our trash. Frankly, it's not hard, and it's something we should all do. So I think I've covered sort of the overarching hard policies, and now I'd like to talk about soft policy. One of them is assimilation. How, you might ask? We want people to step outside their comfort zone. We want to break the divide between international and Chinese students. We want people to interact with people they wouldn't normally talk to. We want the cultural immersion that this school is designed to encourage to actually happen and to actually be facilitated. And we also want to increase transparency of the student government to the student body. We have regular meetings with university leadership, and the concerns of the student body are the concerns of the student government, which include Michael and I. We want you guys to be open to sharing your grievances with us so that we can bring about change, so that we can communicate with the university leadership and we can facilitate dialogue that can facilitate this change. So now I think moving on, we're just gonna do a brief summary of our experiences in student government so far, and I'd like to hand it over to Michael.
Good. So, yeah, so my experience has two parts. So, in my freshman year, I was an assistant director in the external affairs, and this year, as a sophomore, I'm at the position of president of the student government. So, aligning with the changing in my position, there's also changing in my attitude, which is pretty interesting. So, at my freshman year, besides doing my regular job as the assistant director, for example, communicating with local universities, I mainly focused on Lecture NYU ID Open Doors. So within the progress of negotiating business partnerships with local establishments, I really learned a lot about like social skills, like business techniques within this progress, which I believe I would never have a chance to learn if I'm not a member of student government. So what I'm thinking right there is I can maximize the student government as a platform to enrich my ability. And what I want is more freedom, more resource, and more experience I can't engage with in other student organizations. And that's part of the reason why I want to elect for the president. But after I actually got the position, what I find out is actually I have to put my duty at the first place and put what I want to pursue at the second place, which means that being the president has huge responsibility and pressure at the same time. I have to follow many procedures no matter I want them or not. And after that, I can, let's say, have the freedom to do what is ideally planned in my mind. So what I want to say here is like student government, of course, it is one of the greatest platform you can get in NYU Shanghai. And I encourage everyone, no matter which committee you want to be, no matter which position you want to be, take a shot if you want to be a member of student government. But I also want to re-emphasize that being a member of student government doesn't mean that you are running the school. Don't ever have the ideological illusion that student government is above the student body. We are in the student body, we are for the student body. And that is also what me and Nate is keep warning ourselves. Nate?
Yeah, so unlike Michael, I didn't have prior experience in student government at NYU Shanghai. I spent my freshman, sophomore, and junior year as a student here and, basically nothing else. But I figured I wanted to give back to the community that has given me so much. And I feel like student government is a great platform to do so. We take the will of the student body and we translate it into concrete action. And honestly, quite frankly, I don't think anything more can be done than that. So I'd like to thank, once again, all the people on Century Avenue. I'd like to thank our assistant directors for joining us finally. And I'd like to thank Michael and everyone who elected us to be president and vice president. Thank you.
Thank you so much.